Think the restaurants you grew up with are too big to fail? Think again. McDonald's is hemorrhaging customers right now, the place where half of America learned what a Happy Meal was. They've tried everything. Expensive renovations, espresso bars nobody asked for, premium menu items that feel out of place. Nothing's working, and the customers aren't coming back. But here's what should terrify every major chain in America. McDonald's isn't alone. Right now, 15 massive restaurant brands are unraveling simultaneously in ways this industry has never experienced. Chains that defined American dining for generations. Places your parents took you. Traditions you built with your own kids. They're all contracting, closing locations, or quietly preparing to vanish, and nobody's talking about it. One chain just collapsed under more than $1 billion in debt. Another incinerated $700 million on a rebrand that lasted exactly 7 days. And one family favorite went from 1,100 locations to essentially nowhere in under 2 years. The forces squeezing these restaurants aren't temporary. This is about inflation customers can't absorb, rising cost brands can't pass along, and a middle class that finally looked at the receipt, looked at the plate, and said one word: enough. Before we count down all 15, ask yourself this: how many have you personally stopped visiting in the last 2 years? Not because you hate them, but because they stopped feeling worth it. That number isn't random, and by the time we reach number 1, you'll understand exactly why the next wave of closures could be closer to home than you think. Stay with me. Because what's disappearing isn't just restaurants, it's the center of gravity for how America used to eat. Number 15, Red Lobster. How endless shrimp created endless debt. Let's begin with the collapse nobody saw coming. For decades, Red Lobster held a specific place in American life. It wasn't fine dining, but it wasn't casual either. It was that middle ground families relied on: birthdays, anniversaries, Friday nights when you wanted to feel fancy without breaking the bank. And those Cheddar Bay biscuits made you feel like the meal was special before the entree arrived. Then came May 2024. Red Lobster filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Within weeks, 93 locations shut down in a single wave. 93 restaurants gone overnight. But the filings revealed something more staggering. The company was drowning in more than $1 billion of liabilities. Over $1 billion. So how does a nationally recognized seafood chain with hundreds of locations end up that deep in the red? The answer traces back to one promotion that spiraled catastrophically out of control: endless shrimp. On the surface, it seemed brilliant. Customers loved it. Pay one price. Eat as much shrimp as you want. But the economics were a nightmare. Guests routinely consumed $20 to $30 worth of shrimp, while paying $10 or $12. Every refill pushed losses deeper. The more popular it became, the faster Red Lobster bled cash. They created a promotion so appealing it literally bankrupted the company. Layer that disaster on top of unfavorable supplier contracts, surging labor costs, and declining traffic, and the outcome becomes inevitable. Red Lobster tried to be affordable luxury, but when the luxury isn't sustainable and the affordability is an illusion, what you're left with is bankruptcy court. Number 14, Cracker Barrel. The 7-day, $700 million disaster. Cracker Barrel isn't just a restaurant. For millions of Americans, it's a ritual, a cultural touchstone. The rocking chairs outside, the country store filled with nostalgic trinkets, breakfast plates piled with biscuits and gravy. For travelers, it's the comfort stop. For families, it's the road trip tradition. In 2024, leadership decided it was time to modernize. They announced a roughly $700 million transformation plan, new locations, updated menus, a complete brand overhaul. Then in August 2025, Cracker Barrel unveiled the new logo. The old-timer character, the bearded man who'd represented the brand for generations, was erased. The classic country store lettering, gone. What remained was a streamlined barrel graphic and a sleek font that looked more like a Silicon Valley tech startup than a roadside comfort stop. The backlash hit like a freight train. Longtime customers flooded social media, angry, betrayed. Conservative commentators framed it as an attack on traditional values. Even Donald Trump weighed in publicly. Wall Street noticed. Within days, the stock plunged between 7 and 11%. Less than 1 week later, Cracker Barrel reversed course entirely. The new logo was scrapped. The original design restored. A public apology issued. 7 days. That's how long it took for a $700 million strategy to crash so catastrophically that leadership had to admit they'd fundamentally misread their own audience. You can't modernize a brand by deleting the very soul people fell in love with. Number 13. Boston Market, the implosion. From 100 stores to nearly zero, Boston Market once represented something genuinely meaningful. It promised home-style cooking without the effort, rotisserie chicken that smelled like Sunday dinner, real mashed potatoes, vegetables that actually looked recognizable. By late 2024, that version had essentially vanished. At its peak, the chain operated more than 1,100 locations. Now, only a handful remain, barely clinging to life. And the collapse wasn't gradual. It was chaotic, public, devastating. Unpaid rent piling up, lawsuits from suppliers, allegations of wage theft, state governments stepping in, landlords padlocking doors mid-shift, employees arriving to find chains across the entrance with no explanation. This wasn't a company quietly downsizing. This was full structural implosion. So what went wrong? The brand simply never evolved. No meaningful digital ordering, no modern marketing, no real answer to a world that had moved on. Meanwhile, grocery stores started selling rotisserie chickens that were cheaper, equally good, and infinitely more convenient. Once that shift happened, Boston Market lost the foundational promise it was built on. Boston Market isn't struggling anymore. It's already gone. Pause here for just a second. How many of these chains have you personally abandoned in the past few years? Because what we're witnessing isn't coincidence. This is a pattern, a structural shift reshaping how America eats. If you're already counting 2 or 3 restaurants you've walked away from, drop a like right now, because you're about to realize just how many more slipped out of your routine without you even noticing. Number 12, Starbucks. When the $2,000 habit broke, Starbucks was never really about the coffee. It was about the ritual, the routine that made mornings manageable. You'd tap the mobile order before getting out of bed, swing by, grab it without saying a word, just fuel and go. Or maybe Starbucks was your third place, not home, not work, just somewhere quiet where you could decompress. But then 2025 arrived, and people started doing math they'd been avoiding. $6 for a basic latte, $7 with cold foam, $8 once you add oat milk and an extra shot. Suddenly, that casual daily habit wasn't casual. It was $40 a week, $160 a month, nearly $2,000 a year, all of it, just to avoid brewing coffee in your own kitchen. So customers didn't rage quit. They just quietly started showing up less. Daily became 3 times a week. 3 times a week became weekends only. Weekends became maybe once a month. Foot traffic thinned. Those urban locations that once had lines spilling onto sidewalks, empty seats, silent corners, a hollow feeling where energy used to be. That's when Brian Niccol entered. Late 2024, Starbucks handed him a blockbuster compensation package. His opening moves were aggressive. $1 billion restructuring, 900 corporate jobs eliminated overnight, and a sweeping promise to restore the original Starbucks experience. Ceramic mugs, comfortable seating, the warm cafe atmosphere from the early 2000s. On paper, it sounded like salvation. Then the numbers came in during 2025. Traffic remained weak. Margins stayed under pressure. Revenue growth underwhelmed. Wall Street started using the phrase reset year. By year's end, the stock had dropped roughly 7% since Nickel took over. Here's the truth. Starbucks eliminated 900 jobs and spent $1 billion trying to fix the vibes. But no amount of cozy branding undoes the fact that you priced your core customers out of the habit entirely. Starbucks isn't disappearing, but it's no longer automatic. Now it's something you have to justify, debate, talk yourself into. And most mornings, that internal justification just doesn't hold up. Number 11. Sweetgreen. When 18 ultra salads priced out the middle class. A salad chain is collapsing because salads became too expensive. Sweetgreen was engineered for a very specific moment. It targeted young professionals who wanted lunch to feel virtuous. Clean ingredients, seasonal bowls, sustainability messaging. For a while, the premium pricing felt justified, but by 2025, that moment evaporated violently. In a single quarter, same-store sales plunged close to 10%. The stock cratered. A business model built on $18 salads doesn't survive when your core customers are choosing between lunch and rent. People started sharing receipts online, not quietly. $17, $19, $22 for a bowl containing some greens, a modest portion of chicken, and a drizzle of dressing. The comment sections turned vicious. That's literally rent money in a bowl. I could feed myself for 3 days on this price. Sweetgreen's entire brand identity rested on one belief: it was worth it. But when better means skipping other meals just to afford one lunch, the logic disintegrates. And here's the part nobody discusses. For someone like Sarah, a 47-year-old mom stretching a household budget, Sweetgreen was never even accessible. 5 homemade lunches cost roughly the same as one Sweetgreen bowl. When healthy food becomes financially unreachable, it stops serving the people who need it most. Number 10. Chipotle, the $15 burrito that broke the promise. Chipotle was supposed to be the exception, the outlier that proved fast food could be better. Real ingredients, no freezers, generous portions, and for nearly a decade that message resonated powerfully. Then 2025 arrived, and everything stalled. Same-store sales cooled dramatically. Lower-income customers were cutting back. Why? Because a basic burrito meal now routinely costs $12 to $15. Social media erupted with side-by-side comparisons. Smaller portions, higher prices, escalating charges for guacamole. I used to eat here twice a week. Now it's twice a month. $14 for a bowl that doesn't even fill me up. Chipotle charges Sweetgreen prices for food that feels mass-produced. The experience no longer felt elevated. It felt like overpriced fast food, standing in line, watching an employee ration your rice like gold bullion, mentally calculating whether you can justify paying extra for guac. Eventually, Chipotle confronted an uncomfortable truth. The affordable, healthier burrito they'd marketed had quietly transformed into a luxury purchase. And when your foundational promise is accessibility, that shift becomes dangerous. Quick checkpoint. Notice the pattern? Prices climbed, portions shrank, quality stagnated, and customers finally reached their limit. This isn't about individual brands making mistakes. This is an entire industry that forgot who built them. Number 9. Buona Di Beo. When oversized portions couldn't outrun the debt, Buona Di Beo never did subtle. It was loud, chaotic, theatrical. Italian-American food served family style on platters so enormous they required 2 hands. Frank Sinatra on endless loop. Then 2024 hit. Buona Di Beo filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. nearly $39 million owed to its primary lender, more than $3 million in unpaid wages, millions more in overdue bills. Employees stopped receiving paychecks. Some locations had utilities shut off mid-service. Vendors stopped delivering because checks kept bouncing. So why the collapse? Because oversized portions and loud atmosphere can't sustain a business when customers stop showing up. Families realized they could get better Italian food locally for less money. Younger groups gravitated toward cleaner, more modern spaces. And those massive platters? They stopped feeling fun once people started paying attention to health. Buona Di Beo tried surviving on volume and vibes alone. But when the energy fades and the volume can't outpace the debt, bankruptcy isn't a surprise. Number 8. Tijuana Flats. How a menu expansion killed 40 restaurants. Overnight, Tijuana Flats was a regional Tex-Mex brand fighting for survival. The positioning sounded clever, edgier than Taco Bell, more affordable than Chipotle. But in reality, it left almost zero margin for error. That margin vanished in April 2024. With minimal warning, Tijuana Flats shuttered 40 locations and filed for bankruptcy, listing close to $19 million in debt. 40 restaurants disappeared overnight. The collapse traced directly back to an aggressive menu expansion in 2020s. In 2021, new items, more complicated builds, specialized equipment. Every addition made operations exponentially more expensive. As long as traffic remained strong, the cracks stayed hidden. But the moment customer visits softened, the entire structure collapsed. That menu overhaul turned tacos into a losing proposition, costing more to produce than the revenue they generated. Tijuana Flats got squeezed from both sides. It couldn't compete with Taco Bell on price, couldn't match local taquerias on freshness or flavor. 40 restaurants vanished almost instantly because a flashy menu update destroyed the economics of the entire operation. That's not a downturn. That's a wipeout. Number 7. TGI Fridays. The day the party died. TGI Fridays used to represent something unmistakable. Loaded potato skins piled dangerously high. Jack Daniel's glaze on everything. After-work happy hours where co-workers actually relaxed. Birthday dinners where servers clapped off-key. It was noisy, cheesy, excessive. And somehow that was the entire appeal. By 2024, that energy was completely gone. Fridays didn't feel festive anymore. It just felt exhausted. Then the wake-up call arrived. Roughly 50 U.S. locations shut down in a single restructuring wave. Families today make binary choices. Either grab quick, cheap fast food, or spend more on higher quality local spots. Fridays sits awkwardly between both. It's too expensive to feel like a bargain, but too generic to feel memorable. The atmosphere hasn't evolved since roughly 2007. The decor feels frozen. The menu tries covering every craving and excels at none. TGI Fridays once felt like a celebration built into the calendar. Now it feels like a company desperately searching its own past. Number 6. Applebee's. When the neighborhood lost its grill. Applebee's used to be unavoidable. Strip malls, highway exits, small-town main streets. It wasn't exciting, but it didn't need to be. It was dependable, present, familiar. It isn't anymore. In 2024, leadership shut down roughly 30 locations and warned investors more closures were imminent. Entire communities had quietly moved on. The default family dinner destination just wasn't Applebee's anymore. Nothing about Applebee's feels memorable. The menu is painfully generic. The decor is aggressively beige. The experience is fine. And fine doesn't motivate people to leave the couch when Netflix is already queued and DoorDash is 2 taps away. The chain isn't collapsing dramatically, it's just fading, slowly losing relevance. One closed location and one skipped family dinner at a time. Number 5, Red Robin. When the birthday tradition became a food coma. Red Robin once owned a very specific slice of American family culture. It was the birthday dinner sweet spot. Not McDonald's, which felt too cheap. Not a steakhouse, which felt too expensive. Big burgers, bottomless fries, a brownie sundae, and that awkward birthday song while your kid glowed. By 2025, Red Robin found itself stuck in what analysts call turnaround mode, what everyone else recognizes as slow decline. At the core is an identity crisis. Red Robin isn't cheap enough to compete with Five Guys. It lacks the buzz of Shake Shack. And it's nowhere near fast enough to compete with actual fast food. It lands in the dead middle. Average price, average speed, average experience, and average no longer motivates families to walk through the door. Those massive burgers paired with endless fries often trigger a serious food coma. For parents watching their weight or trying to keep up with energetic kids, that once fun tradition now comes with hours of sluggish regret. Red Robin has been promising a comeback for years, but customers have already mentally rewritten their restaurant rotation. Number 4, Outback Steakhouse. When nostalgia became too expensive. Outback Steakhouse used to be the default special occasion restaurant for suburban families. And of course, there was the blooming onion. That version of Outback started unraveling in early 2024. Parent company Bloomin' Brands announced the closure of 41 underperforming locations in a single move. One press release. 41 dining rooms eliminated. Years of family steak night traditions erased overnight. The math isn't difficult. A typical Outback meal, steak, blooming onion, sides, maybe one drink, easily reaches $40 to $50 per person. For a family of 4, that's $150 to $200 before tip. That's no longer a casual weeknight dinner. That's a once-yearly indulgence. Then there's the health calculation. The blooming onion alone delivers nearly 2,000 calories of saturated fat. What used to feel indulgent now feels risky. When nostalgia demands both financial strain and physical consequences, most families quietly opt out. Number 3, KFC, How to Lose. While everyone else wins, KFC should be dominating right now. Chicken is experiencing an unprecedented cultural moment. Chick-fil-A has drive-through lines wrapped around buildings. Raising Cane's opens new locations faster than they can train managers. Popeyes practically broke the internet with a single sandwich. And yet KFC, the original fried chicken giant, is losing ground in the U.S. In key quarters throughout 2024 and 2025, same-store sales dropped roughly 5%. At the precise moment when demand for chicken exploded. So how does a legacy brand lose while the category booms? By making everything harder instead of simpler. By operating stores that feel frozen in 2005. By offering a massive, confusing menu when rivals focus on doing one thing exceptionally. Chick-fil-A sells chicken sandwiches and a consistently pleasant experience. Raising Cane's sticks to chicken fingers and signature sauce. Popeyes leans into bold flavors, and KFC, it tries doing everything. None of it particularly well. The stores feel dated. The menu overwhelms. The experience varies wildly. Families who once grabbed buckets every Sunday have quietly started going anywhere else. KFC isn't disappearing globally, but in the US, it's being overtaken by faster, simpler, more focused competitors. Number 2, MOD Pizza. When unlimited toppings couldn't save the model, MOD Pizza felt like the future, at least for a while. Personal-sized pizzas, unlimited toppings, fast service, complete customization control. Fast forward to 2025 and the narrative has completely shifted. MOD now appears in industry reports for store closures. Aggressive trimming of underperforming locations, the fast casual pizza boom has cooled, and the structural cracks are impossible to ignore. Rent stays high, ingredients aren't cheap, Labor costs keep climbing. And meanwhile, delivery giants offer large pizzas for half the price of MOD's single personal pie. When that price comparison lands, the appeal evaporates quickly. Customization sounds like a business strategy, but it's really just a feature. And when that feature costs double what a discounted Domino's pizza costs, most customers stop caring. The fast casual pizza gold rush had its moment, but now the easy deposits are gone. Number 1. Hooters, when the concept stopped being acceptable. Let's just be direct about Hooters. It was always borderline. Wings, cheap beer, sports on every screen, and a business model people mostly tolerated through the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. For a while, it got dismissed as harmless theme restaurant fun, but eventually, the joke stopped landing. The concept stopped feeling acceptable. Younger generations have zero interest bringing friends to a restaurant where the entire business model revolves around objectifying staff, and it doesn't feel edgy. It just feels awkward, dated, deeply uncomfortable. So throughout 2024 and 2025, Hooters started quietly shuttering dozens of locations. Publicly, the company blamed challenging economic conditions. In reality, the problem was simpler. The brand itself aged terribly. Its identity belongs to a different era. Gen Z would rather eat virtually anywhere else. And even the boomers and Gen X customers who once made Hooters a regular destination have largely drifted away. Hooters isn't reinventing itself. It's just slowly vanishing, one half-empty dining room at a time. The real reason. They all collapsed. And here's the larger truth these 15 chains expose. They didn't fail because of bad luck. They failed because of choices. They prioritized short-term profit over people, efficiency over quality, quarterly earnings over long-term trust. Prices climbed without quality improving. Human connection got replaced by automation. Oversized, oversalted, over-sugary meals kept getting pushed while brands performed theater about caring for health. They chased trends, ignored feedback, and abandoned the customers who built them. When the middle class finally looked at the receipt and said, "We can't afford this anymore, and even if we could, it's not worth it," the entire system fractured. From Starbucks and its $8 lattes, to Boston Market and its abandoned storefronts, to Red Lobster drowning in $1 billion of debt, to Cracker Barrel incinerating $700 million on a logo disaster. The message stays consistent. When you price out loyal customers, ignore their health, and offer nothing they can't get cheaper or better elsewhere, it doesn't matter how iconic your brand once was. You become irrelevant. What this means for you. And here's what that means for you. Especially if you're managing a family budget and trying to stay healthy in 2026, stop feeling guilty about eating out less. You're not failing. They failed you. Stop wondering where the affordable family dinner vanished to. It didn't disappear accidentally. These chains destroyed it through deliberate choices. Stop returning to places that keep disappointing you just because you used to love them. Nostalgia isn't worth your money. And it's definitely not worth your health. You have better options now. Local restaurants using actual ingredients, cooking at home in ways that save money and leave you with more energy. Fast casual spots that genuinely deliver on their promises. These 15 chains made their decisions. Now you get to make yours. So here's what I want to know. When was the last time you genuinely enjoyed eating at one of these places? Not tolerated it. Not shrugged and paid anyway. Actually enjoyed it. Left feeling satisfied. Excited to return, because that's the real question. These brands didn't lose you in one catastrophic visit. They lost you across dozens of quiet disappointments. The meal that cost double what it used to. The order that arrived wrong. The price that made you pause. The moment you realized you could eat better, cheaper, healthier, and happier almost anywhere else. Drop the name of the chain you finally walked away from in the comments. And tell me the exact moment you knew you were done. I want the breaking point stories. And if this video helped explain why your family's eating habits have quietly transformed, why you cook more now, why you skip the easy dinner out, why the old routines don't work anymore, hit subscribe and share this with someone who needs to hear it. The next video is on your screen, right? Now, click it and see if YouTube got the recommendation right. We're here to protect your family's health and your wallet. No fluff, no corporate spin, just the truth nobody else is saying. See you there.